Hello everyone, welcome to the program. This is Politics Today, live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Wakimbaloye and we're monitoring for you what has become a major event in the world. Perhaps one of the most powerful precedents. Again, we've seen a transition between the Biden administration and the Donald Trump administration. A new era begins in the United States, with Donald J. Trump returning as the 47th president of the United States. Some of the implications for Nigeria, especially our interests as a country, as a people, and what this also means with the trade relations, of course, and those who have interest in America and about issues that Donald Trump has brought up. Tonight, we'll be giving you all of the insight that you need to know. Let's tell you now that the National Assembly has expressed concerns over the insufficient allocation of funds to the Ministry of Solid Minerals in the 2025 budget, requiring plans by the federal government to diversify the nation's economy. At a joint session today in the Senate, in the House of Representatives, Joint Committees on Solid Minerals, chaired by Senator Ekong Samsing and Honorable Gaza Jonathan, the lawmakers expressed doubts about the government's dedication to reducing its dependence on oil revenues. The lawmakers therefore summoned Finance Minister Wale Edun, Budget and Economic Planning Minister Senator Abubakar Bagudu, and the Director General of the Budget Office, Tanimu Yakubu, to clarify the federal government's commitment to the sector. And Vice President Kashim Shettima has arrived in Davos in Switzerland, where he is representing Nigeria at the 2025 annual meeting of the World Economic Forum. The World Economic Forum meeting brings together global leaders, business executives, and development partners to address pressing global and national economic challenges and identify strategies for sustainable growth. During his time in Davos, Vice President Kashim Shettima will participate in bilateral meetings and discussions aimed at advancing the nation's economic opportunities and addressing global risk. A notable event on the Vice President's schedule is a workshop titled, quote, Roadmap to Co-Create Investment Opportunities for Africa's Frontier Markets, and of course, organized by the African Development Bank, AFDB, in collaboration with the WEF. This session will focus on driving capital flows into Africa to support inclusive development and resilience across the continent. Very notable and one of the most respected political scientists in the nation, someone who has also traversed several regions of the world and countries, understanding what politics and implication for the Nigerian situation. A former External Affairs Minister is my guest tonight on the program, and he will be giving us insight on the implication and the effect of the Donald Trump presidency for Nigeria. But before we get to talk to him, let's check out some of your political roundup stories.
The Minister of Labour and Employment, Muhammadu Dingyadi, has pledged the federal government's commitment to addressing unemployment in Nigeria. Speaking before the Senate Committee on Employment, Labour and Productivity, chaired by Senator Diket Plan today, the minister outlined ongoing efforts to combat the nation's unemployment crisis. Just 3 months into his role, Mr. Dingyadi emphasized that tackling unemployment is the ministry's top priority. On the nation's unemployment statistics, the Labour Minister refrained from providing specific figures, citing the need for accuracy. Governor Abba Yusuf of Kano State has reiterated his commitment to completing all road projects left unfinished by the previous administration of Governor Abdullahi Ganduje. He made the pledge while commissioning the Dawakin Kudu road project, describing infrastructure development as crucial to the economic growth of the state. According to the governor, the completion of these projects will facilitate the transformation of agricultural produce to markets, thereby boosting the economy and improving livelihoods. In Kogi State, Governor Usman Ododo has directed the immediate removal of the tax clearance certificate as a prerequisite for students' registration in state-owned tertiary institutions. The chairman of the State Internal Revenue Service, Mr. Salihu Enehe, announced the decision of the governor at a press briefing in Lokoja, the state capital. According to him, school authorities should no longer use the certificate as a yardstick to register students in schools. Chairman of the Ondo State Independent Electoral Commission, Mr. Joseph Aremo, has announced the final results of Saturday's local government elections in the state. Speaking at the headquarters in Akure, Mr. Aremo declares that the ruling APC won all the 18 chairmanship and 203 councillorship seats in the election.
He calls this the golden era. He says it has begun. Well, a new era for real, for fact, has begun in America today. And why is America of interest tonight on Politics Today? It's because where America goes, literally the world goes, is perhaps, well, the currency in that country is tied the global currency. And whoever becomes the American president also determine where the world goes, because America is perhaps the most powerful country in the world. So today, Donald J. Trump has been inaugurated as the 47th president of the United States, and this marking a return to the White House for a second term after he was defeated the last time by Biden and his crew in the Democratic Party. Now, this particular return follows a first term as the 45th president from 2017 to 2021. And the swearing-in ceremony, which took place at a rotunda in the indoors of the U.S. Capitol, a departure from the traditional outdoor ceremony, which takes place on the premises of the Capitol now, because the reasons given because of extreme cold weather conditions. Our former presidents, including Barack Obama, Clinton, and the former presidents of the United States were present to witness these transition of a new administration in the American life. But let us take a listen again to portions of the inaugural speech of Donald Trump as the 47th president of the United States.
The golden age of America begins right now. From this day forward, our country will flourish and be respected again all over the world. We will be the envy of every nation, and we will not allow ourselves to be taken advantage of any longer. During every single day of the Trump administration, I will very simply put America first. Our sovereignty will be reclaimed. Our safety will be restored. The scales of justice will be rebalanced. The vicious, violent, and unfair weaponization of the Justice Department and our government will end. And our top priority will be to create a nation that is proud, prosperous, and free. America will soon be greater, stronger, and far more exceptional than ever before. I return to the presidency confident and optimistic that we are at the start of a thrilling new era of national success. A tide of change is sweeping the country, sunlight is pouring over the entire world, and America has the chance to seize this opportunity like never before. But first, we must be honest about the challenges we face. While they are plentiful, they will be annihilated by this great momentum that the world is now witnessing in the United States of America. As we gather today, our government confronts a crisis of trust. For many years, a radical and corrupt establishment has extracted power and wealth from our citizens while the pillars of our society lay broken and seemingly in complete disrepair. We now have a government that cannot manage even a simple crisis at home, while at the same time stumbling into a continuing catalog of catastrophic events abroad.
Those are some of the portions of President Donald Trump in returning to office. And today he was sworn in by Chief Justice John Roberts, and is returning as the 47th president of the United States, marking a political comeback after being convicted of felonies. His running mate J.D. Vance was sworn in by Justice Brett Kavanaugh, and in his inauguration address, Donald Trump vowed that the golden age of America begins now. What all these mean, especially from the Nigerian perspectives, how does it impact on Nigeria's local politics and the direction of our international relations with perhaps the most powerful country on the planet? I'm being joined by one of Nigeria's most revered political scientists and a former Minister of Foreign Affairs. Professor Bolaji Akinyemi is live for us in Lagos. Prof, it's good to see you and good evening.
Good evening, Shane. Thank you for having me on your program.
Thank you. Prof, first and foremost, I'd like to get your view. There's a lot to this guy, this new man at the helm of affairs in the United States. What will be your own summary of his journey, losing election the last time and now returning to power, and what we've seen today? How would you describe President Donald Trump's return to the helm of affairs in America?
It's very strange for me that the first presidential inaugural address that I first heard in my life was President John F. Kennedy's inaugural address, which turned out to be the best so far, and which in a way energized me and gave me a vision of what the most powerful man in the world should stand for. And now the worst inaugural address that I will hear in my life is the one I had today. This was not an inaugural address. This was more like a rabble-rousing address to a mob in the United States. There was nothing there for the rest of the world, that something that should give us hope or a vision of the kind of 4 years that we ought to look forward to. In fact, the most specific thing he said was when he targeted Mexico by saying, instead of calling the Gulf of Mexico, which what it has been called all these years, it will be called the Gulf of America. It was more an address threatening different parts of the world rather than an address calling upon the world to be a partner to the United States. I have never in my life heard of an inaugural address that strips naked all the achievements of his successor and his predecessors. While they are sitting, it was such a crude address. I know you want me to focus on Africa or what Nigeria should look forward to. You are giving me a task I cannot do, because I'm not really sure that if you ask Trump to spell Africa or to spell Nigeria or to locate where we are on the globe, he will be able to do so. We are out of his focus. Yes, he is focusing on the Middle East because Israel had been a united partner of his. Yet, yes, he's focused on South America and what have you. But the rest of the world, he doesn't care. This was not an inaugural address. This was not calling on the world to join him in a venture or in an adventure to rescue the world, whether it is on climate change, whether it is, in fact, all the things that he was saying, drill, baby, drill. Is that the kind of language you expect from a president in an inaugural address? I find it shocking, and it's very depressing for me, because as I said, the first inaugural address that I will hear in my life was one that actually turned me looking for a career into involvement with the world, that there was a role for somebody who means well for the world, there was a role for him to play. If I had listened, if Trump's inaugural address had been the one I listened to as my first address, I probably wouldn't have taken international relations as my own focus. I probably would have gone to do something else. So yeah, I'm sorry, Seun, if I have nothing positive to say on your program about what we witnessed today. Is something frightening? Americans should find it frightening, because if America thinks, yes, it's the most powerful country in the world right now, but if America thinks it can lord it over the world and not pay a price for it, then they're mistaken. They will pay a price for it. I mean, take the issue of imposing tariffs on others. When you impose tariffs on goods coming into your country, it's your people that the businessmen will pass the tariffs on to. And the other countries will also now impose a tariff on your own goods. That is not a way to engender mutual prosperity in the world. No, that is a token, or that's a pathway for what will you call it? That's a pathway for economic warfare. Do you need a warfare at this time when we should all rally around to try and enjoy to try and promote prosperity? You don't do that. So really, but am I surprised? No, I'm not surprised, because all he said today were things he said on the campaign trail, and they were even made up of falsehoods. So if there's going to be, if you are asking President Tinubu or African presidents to try and fathom a pathway to engage Trump, I will say they've got a heavy duty on their hands.
All right, Prof. Let me jump in quickly. I mean, I see a lot actually from what Donald Trump has said today in his inaugural speech. It looks to me that he wants to isolate his country, the United States, from the rest of the world, focusing more on these principles or the concept or the narrative of make America great again. It's to me tonight looked like he's rattled the cages of foreign leaders, both allies and adversaries alike. He's given them a sense of worry. For example, taking back the Panama Canal, renaming the Gulf of Mexico, Gulf of America, talking about being a peacemaker and a unifier. On one end, he's saying he's going to spend less on solving the wars outside of America, the principles of America, getting interested in wars outside of the shores of America came from the threat on the American soil. But what he has done today and focusing on the border issues and immigration issues shows that he wants to pay more attention on the concerns of the American people and trying to shove away whatever that concerns the rest of the world. But in all of this, I mean, considering the kind of interest Nigerians have in America and the kind of leadership America poses on the rest of the world, what do you think the leaders of the countries of the world should be doing right now? This is a warning to them, isn't it, Prof?
Yes, you're quite right. He spoke as a warrior. He didn't speak as a world leader. That's why I said, yes, the United States may be the most powerful country in the world because they have the most powerful army, the most powerful navy, and so on. But they will smoothen all the rough edges. But what we had today is a signal to the rest of the world that you now have a warrior as president of the United States, somebody who's prepared to go to war. Because when you say that you want to make America great again, yes, America has been great. We all know that, but don't rub it in, because then China can say we want to make China great. Russia could say we want to make Russia great. People involved in the BRICS phenomenon will then say, look, we are right to embark on this BRICS project in order to protect ourselves from this jingoist. I expect every leader, every president in the world to protect the interest of his own country. But you are not going to come out and say, oh, I will make Britain great again. Britain used to have the largest empire in the world. But I do say, British Prime Minister, you don't have to be crude. You don't have to be uncouth about the way you promote your policies. You don't have to rub it in. Nobody is going to challenge the United States. So it's when you don't really have concrete policy that makes sense that you then start this jingoism, which is no leader in the world embarks on such an adventure and uses that kind of thing. So really, I don't expect anything positive for the universe on the global scene, maybe on the American scene, but he will soon learn that there are repercussions to policy, there are consequences to jingoistic politics, because other countries will fail, even if for pride's sake they have to oppose him, and you then end up spending your resources and your time fighting other countries rather than through cooperative diplomacy achieving the objectives that you actually want to achieve. It's all about, the way and manner in which you project your policy. The policies don't have to be different from that of Biden. But when you want to rub things into the face of people, then I'm afraid both for America and the world, we are in for a rough ride for 4 years.
Prof, if you were President Bola Tinubu, how would you address or approach the relation with America? Is it cautiously or aggressively, or how would you advise this president in Nigeria to approach our relation, considering the temperament, the character, and the policy direction of Donald Trump?
Well, if I were President Tinubu, I would try to steer clear of antagonizing him, because there is nothing a bully likes better than taking on people who are not strong enough to resist him. You know, there is that African proverb, if you are not strong enough to take on a bully and you take him on, you are just even going to suffer more for it. It's like because Muhammad Ali slaps me, I would then want to enter the ring to confront him. He will just take off my head. It's as simple as that. So if he gives me one slap, I will move several steps backward to make sure that the next punch from him doesn't land on me. And that's the advice I will give President Tinubu. Try and avoid having a confrontation with him, even if that means that he does things that annoy or does things that steps on the interests of Nigeria. There are ways in which you could address his own reaction without confrontation. I will not advise, take a lesson from the Chinese. The Chinese have this cultural attitude. They won't take you on frontally. It's a Chinese culture from the time of the ancient emperors. And I once asked a colleague of mine in China, why are you accepting this from the United States? He said, what's the point of confronting the United States? The future belongs to us, the Chinese. It is the Americans who will wear out their energy, their resources by embarking on adventures around the world. Let them do so. And that is the advice I will give.
All right, Prof.
Actually, to any.
Yeah. So let's look at what the facts and the figures are saying. You look at Nigeria's biggest and the largest trade partner, and which is China. China is Nigeria's largest import partner, and our engagement or partnership with China amounts to about 23.18%, India being the second, United States being the third. But if you look at it, as of 2024, in the last quarter of 2024, precisely in October, the United States exported about $296 million to Nigeria and imported $398 million from Nigeria, resulting in a negative trade balance of $102 million. But if you look at it, Prof, imports of crude petroleum amounts to about $610 million. Nigeria's exports in the United States were mainly oil products, and we have cars, wheat, petroleum gas, petroleum coal, motor vehicles, parts and accessories, also making the rest of the percentage. So our third largest trade partner, and you have talked about how we need to also refocus our attention. India, China are members of BRICS. So recently, BRICS, Brazil being the chair, invited Nigeria to be a partner. And there are those who have advised that Nigeria should look towards being a permanent member or a member of BRICS. In this sense, if you look at what has happened today, if you are going to advise with your wealth of experience as a diplomat, should we be looking at these figures and these numbers to recalibrate our trade partnership with America and the kind of manner in which we need to go, especially our petroleum importation or exportation, as the case may be?
I don't think that recalibrating the path for our economic prosperity hangs on our relationship with the United States. The recalibration is in the Nigerian national interest. There are so many areas that we don't need to depend upon just gas or just petroleum products, the different assets that we have in Nigeria that we haven't been paying attention to is what we should try to really focus upon. And when we focus upon that, we will even get more, not clients, we will even get more partners to trade with if we start to emphasize even agricultural products. That when you look at the figures in the 60s, when we first became independent, all the way to Gawan's time, we were exporting agriculture. Malaysia came to Nigeria to get rubber products, which they then went back to their own country to plant. Now, they are part of their own GDP, and its dependence on rubber production has overtaken Nigeria. Is nowhere. What are we doing with cocoa? You know, so these are not rocket science. And I'm saying, don't recalibrate your economic production based on the fact that you want to engage just the United States. If it's not the United States, there are other countries that need what to call. So turn inwards. Turn inwards. I think I heard a pronouncement from the National Assembly today that budget-wise, the allocation that is being made for mineral resources is not sufficient, given what we can gain by exploiting our natural resources, whether it's gold, whether it's diamond, whether it's plutonium, and all those kind of things. And yet, you know, so really take a good look at your budget. But what I'm just emphasizing it, whatever it is you do with your economy, whatever engagement you have with India, with Brazil, with China, don't let it look like we are targeting negatively the United States, because there's nothing that Trump likes better than to be engaged in a war with a third world country. He would love that because it will be something he will win. And we don't need that kind of negative engagement. That's the point that I'm making. I am not happy, and I'm not sure whether you and I have discussed this BRICS something. Can you tell me the difference between a partner country and a member? Given our GDP in Africa compared to Ethiopia, compared to even South Africa, is it a partner country that befits us? No. We should have been part of the original members of BRICS. I've said this on so many platforms. I don't know why we were never an original member. I don't know why we were not invited to join as a full member as they were expanding it. I think it's a slap in our face, and we should never have accepted this partner member, if that's what they call it. Because frankly, they need to spell it out. Does it mean that we will just continue to sit on the margin while real members are inside, taking decisions, having the debate, before they then bring in those who are partner members? I don't get it. And it doesn't befit us. And given what Trump has said, that he's going to regard BRICS members as hostile members, are we going to get slaps in the face from Trump without getting the full benefits of being full members of BRICS? No, it's we need to or to use your language, we need to recalibrate our attitude towards membership of BRICS, or what we are being offered.
No one will forget in a hurry how Donald Trump, in his first term, referred to Haiti and African nations as something whole country, a language that is not befitting for television or cannot be used on a live television. And if you look at that that language, and you see what is said today, where he's saying that there will be a national emergency declared on border. There will be more money spent on border control. There will be the largest deportation of aliens, according to how he referred to those who are on American soil. He says all illegal entry will be halted. These are some of the statements and the plans agenda of Donald Trump. In that sense, Prof.
Yeah.
What is your view about this? I also think might also affect the visa policy, the immigration policy of America. In that sense, what comes to your mind?
All the things that Trump said about Mexico, Venezuela, Cuba, change all of that and just put global south there. Then you yourself will know the kind of policies that will affect Nigeria. In a way, in fairness to him, during the first time of his coming, he did speak favorably about the achievements of Nigerian immigrants in the United States, that we were great achievers, and that he was proud of the kinds of behavior of Nigerians. That's during the first coming. But having made anti-immigration the cornerstone of his policy, both domestically and foreign policy-wise, there is no way where we are not going to be affected. There is no way. The policy, the visa policy is going to become constricted. It's not going to make an exception that, okay, they are going to block immigration into America, but Nigeria is going to be different. No, we are going to get the rough end of this anti-immigration policy.
And Prof, I wasn't particularly pleased the way he referenced former President Muhammadu Buhari in America helping Nigeria to fight insurgency. And if you remember, Prof, how he referenced President Buhari as a leader who likes to fly gadgets and who likes the helicopter when we're talking about the Super Tucano aircraft. The condescending manner in which he referenced leaders of other nations that he perhaps see in a certain light. When we wonder, America as a partner in fighting insurgency, and we do know how America wants to fight insurgency in every part of the world to protect its own territory. Do you think that Nigeria could get any kind of help in terms of fighting insurgency or security issues or any kind of a partnership or assistance from the United States from this kind of body language? Or we should look elsewhere to China, to maybe Russia?
No. Trump will sell American weapons to any country that is fighting their own internal issues, as long as those weapons are not going to be used against the United States, used against allies of the United States. You see, really, the distinction, if I can paint it in a general brush, the distinction between the Republicans and the Democrats is that the Democrats will start to bring up issues of human rights, issues of democracy, when it comes to trying to decide whether to sell you weapons or not. Remember what Obama did to us. Whereas Republicans, as long as your dollar is good, they will send you the helicopters. They will send you the airplanes. They will even send you the naval ships that you need. So, as long as we are not perceived by by Trump as an enemy of the United States, if you approach them on the grounds and you are prepared to pay, he will sell the weapons to you to fight Boko Haram and all the ISWAP, the Islamic State of West Africa. They will sell the weapons to you, because don't forget that they are still fighting ISIS in Syria, and American troops are still in Syria on the ground. American boots are still on the ground. So we have no problem in terms of developing it. And this is really what I mean by saying, look at where there's no confrontation between you and the United States, between Tinubu and Trump. Once there are no such negative reverberations, you get along with Trump fine. He won't come after you, and you can't go after him in any case. And as long as you have your dollars, they'll sell the weapons to you. He is very pro the military in any case.
Let me also, what do you make of this statement? Well, also, although from what you said, Prof, he said he's a peacemaker, he's a unifier. It means that he may not be the one to take the war or the battle or assist or aid anyone in fighting any war. It looked to me from his statement that he wants to spend more money in protecting the American people on the American soil. But Prof, quickly, what do you make of what he says about issues of gender? And you know, America has been a leading voice in the issues of polarized gender issues, issues of fluidity, of identity, transgender issue, homosexuality, and all of that. He says there will only be two genders in America, male and females. That is audacity, isn't it, for an American society, one that is in the lead in those kind of conversation. What becomes for those who had altered their identity in some ways?
Sean, you want to drag me into an area I really would rather avoid, because I'm one of these people who believe that there are male and there are female. I recognize the fact that there are people who have issues, but to me, it should not be made. It should not be made an issue for public consumption. I know where you are going. There have always been LGBT issues all over the world. But when people cannot go along the consensual paths that we have, what people do behind closed doors should be kept behind closed doors. But when you now decide that it's going to be a public issue, you are going to make it a matter of public policy, it becomes almost a question of neocolonialism. I've been involved on this issue where I've been lobbied by foreign countries to please talk to our leaders not to not to make LGBT issue a matter of public policy, or else they were going to withdraw aid from them. They were going to punish them by adopting hostile policies, and in foreign institutions, international institutions, they were going to take a hostile attitude towards voting for Nigeria and so on. And my attitude to those who approach me to intervene is to say, don't force your preferences down the throat of Nigeria. Let Nigerians decide themselves what they think their public policy should be. So really, I pass no judgment on anyone or on any group, but foreign countries should not force down our throat. So if Trump wants the United States to have only two sexes, then that's between him and the United States citizens. But it's not something he should seek to export to the rest of the world.
So, Prof, quickly, this is not the United States matter or Donald Trump, but this is a matter that affects the Nigeria, the impression about Nigeria and the image of Nigeria, especially for someone who carries the name, a Nigerian name. And that's the leader of the opposition in the United Kingdom, Ms. Kemi Badenoch. And these rhetorics against the Nigerian image as she perceives it. Prof, I'd like to play a short tape about what she said recently about Nigeria. Just for a moment, I'd like to get your view on that. Take a listen to what Ms. Kemi Badenoch said recently.
Poor country. I grew up in a poor country, and I watched my relatively wealthy family become poorer and poorer and poorer, despite working harder and harder as their money disappeared.
Prof, I have only about 60 seconds or so to close the program, but I'd like to close the program to get your view on Ms. Badenoch and a continued negative narrative against Nigeria. It does look like a campaign to the UK people about how she feels about Nigeria.
She's how the daughter of a professor of Unilag, a father who was a medical doctor, a girl who went to the international school at Unilag, will make it sound like she was selling groundnuts and selling water in Lagos in order to advance her political career. She will soon learn that you don't throw your own people and your own culture under the bus in order to advance your career. She's making a mistake, but she will soon learn. She will soon learn. I mean, after all, right now, is it the right wing, what we call the right wing? There's even a right wing political party in the United Kingdom that is even to the right of the Conservative Party. So what she should be focusing on is how to regain that the right wing profile of the Conservative Party and leave Nigeria alone.
Prof, it's always a pleasure having you talk to us about some of these issues. Thank you so much indeed for tonight. Professor Bolaji Akinyemi, former Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Thank you.
Thank you so much indeed. Always a pleasure. Well, that's our show tonight, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm Sean Kimale. God bless Nigeria.